Good evening and welcome to VI Voices. I'm Emile Henderson III. Along here with me is Natalie Nelson, Tang and Clint Ferris.
Good evening.
Our usual other panelist, Boyd McFarlane, is off tonight. He is, today as we know, is contract day in the Virgin Islands, which is a big holiday, or should be a big holiday.
Correct.
Also colloquially known as Fire Monday.
Correct.
And so he's done the activities in Frederickstead to commemorate contract day. And so we are here, we'll stand in and we'll continue as we always do each and every night. As you know, we have our voting campaign, Rock Your Voice, in which we try to encourage everybody to be informed in the process and to be able to make informed decisions and to go out and vote as though your life depends on it, because it does. Tonight is no different. Tonight we have with us two aspirants for the 3rd legislature of the Virgin Islands. We have Mr. Jay Watson and Mr. Eugene LaCorbiniere. I hope I pronounced his name correctly.
I think you got it. Was it LaCorbiniere?
Well, we'll have him say
tell
it
us, right?
when he comes on air. And so tonight we will have that on, and we will begin tonight as we do every night with our hot topics. And our first hot topic is the big front page article in the Daily News dealing with the LEAC and the 783% increase to the LEAC as opposed to 200% increase in fuel oil. So Clint, I'm gonna let you start with that. I'm sure the audience is clamoring to hear what you have to say.
I am applauding the Daily News. It's about time this Pulitzer Prize winning newspaper started to do some good reporting, because for the last 8 years the Daily News was absent. I am just saying that straight out. But let's talk about what's on their front page. They're talking about the food cost. The actual fuel cost for the, is about 280% over the last few years, but the LEAC has increased over 700%. So that doesn't jive.
783%.
And so you see the challenge.
Almost 4 times what the oil cost has increased.
So what's happening to us in the Virgin Islands? So really, what is the LEAC for? What about the consumption costs? And when are we going to rein that monster in, so we can really save the Virgin Islands from the brink of chaos?
And you know what, Clint? It's staggering, because Virgin Islanders as a whole, we pay more than almost anywhere in the entire United States, including Hawaii and Alaska. We have the highest that we pay. Can you believe that?
Correct.
In the Virgin Islands?
See, and that's the problem. Leadership. If the leadership had to absorb the kind of cost that the common man was absorbing, they would have, they too would be marching today as a fire burn, then setting the place afire. Because think about it. The leadership at UVI, 300,000. The leadership at Wang F. Louis. The leadership at Royal Leicester Snyder. They are 6-figure salaries. Our president administrator, those people in the legislature, they're pushing close to 6 figures. And you're telling me, see, they have a cushion. We don't. Small businesses don't.
Right.
Why is this LEAC left to one?
And I am really fearful for small businesses. On the average here in the Virgin Islanders pay 39.9% per kilowatt usage in 2012 versus across the United States on the average they pay 9.9%. That's a significant difference.
Correct.
And what we have is small businesses left and right, particularly on the island of St. Croix, that are closing every day.
But if you think about who they peg themselves to, they peg WAPA peg itself towards Hawaii. Hawaii is about 39 cents per kilowatt hour. We are 47 cents. I think 8 cents more, and now we're gonna be at 49 cents, so 10 cents more than what Hawaii is at. So you see, we're not nowhere close to who they're comparing themselves to.
And now we're gone up actually to 47
I thought that we had a senator that was going to completely abolish the LEAC.
Let's call no
Well, that's supposed to happen.
Let's call no names.
Well, you see, that's again
I
pie in
like
the
people to be
sky.
able to defend themselves, but
Yes,
since the
it's
person
true.
isn't
It's
coming
not
to the
here
show,
to defend, let's
I'm
be
not going to stop
fair.
talking about it. So I thought they were going to completely,
But talk
remove
is
the
cheap.
LEAC.
You can say whatever you want to say, but the reality is facing us like a green-eyed monster.
But-
There's nothing we can do at this point unless our legislature and others step up to the plate.
No, there's something we can do. One, not put in place this increase.
But you know people feel helpless.
Correct. But let's not put into this increase into place. 2, let's work to reduce in the LEAC. Short term, easy fix. Do not increase the LEAC as of today. Freeze it and reduce it by.
Here's what WAPA is going to argue. They're going to argue that without these increases, they can't provide energy.
Exactly.
Because they can't get the oil. So then we end up, all of us, unless we have generators or have solar power or some other alternative source of energy, end up living in darkness.
No, but collectively, how much does WAPA bring in and the LEAC per annum? Can somebody tell me that?
Well, I would believe that the LEAC is what's keeping them going.
No.
I would think that's what it is. That's the only way that they're able. I would think that's the only way they're able to proceed.
But don't they make money off of water? Don't they make money off of consumption of there's still a consumption portion of the bill.
They do, but I believe that without any fund at all coming from the LEAC, that they would not be able to survive.
So is it because the government doesn't pay their bill?
Absolutely.
And PS.
You know my position, right?
Cut people off.
Since
Cut them off.
you remember though.
Except the hospitals and the
that
emergency places, and the law doesn't allow us to do that.
No, but
everybody else you can.
Be realistic. Since 1989, the PSC has allowed WAPA to pass off their fuel costs on the customers. That has not changed. That's nothing new.
Correct.
It's just that somewhere along the lines, it became drastic in terms of their pass off onto the customers. What, if anything, can we do to see that it's cut back to what levels that it used to be, which was in reason that nobody really raised an eyebrow back then. Something has happened over time since 1989 to today, 2012, where the increases are astronomical.
Because I think it's the irresponsible behavior of the government.
I agree.
Government has behaved irresponsibly since the year 2000. They talk about cutting back and electricity. Conserve. We have conserve as people. They talk about buying smaller cars. The government fleet is larger. The government has not behaved like how they have told the common man to behave. Because all of us are behaving responsibly, but not government.
Well, I think a great number of those contract negotiators on behalf of the government went to the Miss Manda school of contract negotiation. Because had we done what we should have done in 1989, because let's remember, so the answer is clear, we didn't always have a LEAC.
Correct.
Okay? It wasn't always there. And we were doing just fine. Remember, oil was cheap everywhere.
Sure.
We didn't have that. Somewhere along the line, WAPA needed it for whatever reason. And it was only supposed to last for 6 months. And then that would be it. 6 months has turned into, what year are we in now? So that's 23 years?
Correct.
Okay. And it has substantially gone up and up and up, primarily because of the cost of oil. When we were negotiating with Hovenza and the purchase of oil,
and that was 1998.
right? 1998. But even before then, we could have dealt with that issue. But let's give them till 1998. That was a time for us to freeze whatever the cost of oil was at that time.
Right.
You could not sell it to us for more than that. So we would not have been in the problems that we're in today.
But so you see, it's cyclical. So we continue to come back to the thought that is lack of leadership within our shores. So that our leaders have not been leaders.
To answer Natalie's question, I think the first course of action is to be very careful who we send into the 30th legislature of the Virgin Islands, because I honestly believe that we're going through somewhat of a rebirth where we can utilize the 30th legislature of the Virgin Islands as that body to really effect change and set us on a new course. Imagine, the stars are aligning. You have 6 people who will not be coming back from St. Thomas.
True.
And that never happens. And then you have at least one in St. Croix who is not coming back. And then there's a few who shouldn't be coming back. And so if we are truly wanting change to effect the kind of change that we need to effect, then it starts by going to the polls, and let's start looking at a brand new legislature for 30th.
So there's no coincidence that today being October 1st, contract day, that we have in this discussion.
Of course not.
Because it's about time working men and women in these Virgin Islands mobilize and start to take voting seriously. Because those people who try to me, they went after you and your families when they took your 8% and all the things that they have done. So this is your time to say, today is the day that I'm going to take a stand. And if you happen to vote against me all of these years, I am going to make sure I cast a vote against you.
And let's remember, historically, the fire ban, October 1st, 1878, was a Monday, as today is a Monday.
Wow.
Correct.
And so things are just aligning the way it should align, so that we can proceed forward to get what we need done to protect the people. Because every time you walk around and somebody shuts their doors, a place that you've known for so many years, you grew up knowing, because they can't, not because people don't patronize them, Because people do.
Yeah.
But they can't pay one bill. They can't pay the LIA.
Yeah.
And it's like if you miss a month,
Yeah.
you're already behind.
Correct.
That you can't catch up.
And they don't hesitate to cut you off.
Correct.
Well,
So
we'll see what happens. But today, of course, is contract day, Fire Bond Day, and we've always been known as a place of a people who actually will stand up for what we want. And so on Friday, Delbert M. Burt Bryan and Mary Peggy Moorhead, who are delegates to the 5th Constitutional Convention, both filed an action for injunctive relief and declaratory judgment against the legislature and the governor in regards to the 5th Revision Constitutional Convention.
correct.
And so I understand that a hearing is scheduled for Wednesday on the issue, and the defendants in that case, legislature, have all been ordered by tomorrow to file responses to their petition. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I encourage, if you believe so strongly against this bill, you have to exercise your right. And if the right is granted you to go into the judicial system to seek relief, you have all right to do
But what
so.
is this feeling that people are saying, okay, let people go to work, you're wasting time, why are you filing this stuff, stop, trying to stick with the process? What do we say to those individuals who have that kind of feeling? And rightfully so, for those who want to have something.
But what do we say to our people who every time jump in and say, we're going to sue or we're going to do this? They say, why are you suing? No, I think they have all right to sue because they need to put a halt to this process, because they so believe that this is wrong, and if they believe that is wrong, they're doing it according to the Constitution that was being afforded to them on the United States flag.
Yeah.
And they've rightfully exercised their right to do so. The concern I have is if I believe they've done so pro se. So I'm not sure how far they're going to get, under those circumstances, because you know how it could get
Well,
rough.
yeah, it can get
in
rough
there.
when they have lawyers and you don't.
Correct.
Hopefully, but these are two seasoned people.
Yes.
And Senator Bryan, former Senator Bryan, is no stranger to filing lawsuits.
Correct.
And so he may be fine, but you're right. I kind of prefer to have people who have lawyers representing as opposed to pro se people on these important kinds of issues.
So maybe somebody from the Bar Association may come up and,
We don't know.
and volunteer their time.
We don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
But as you said, that isn't part of the legal team that they've put in place under this revision committee includes somebody from the bar,
Yeah.
the bar,
Yeah.
along with some other.
I have a problem. For me personally, I have a problem with this revision commission because what you've done is created a separate entity
Yes.
to do something that's already created.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And then you've added 5 people who are the only 5 people who are to revise and propose new things to submit to those 30 delegates who we voted for, only to vote for it. And so those 5 lawyers also have a vote. Well, that was in the process
And let's back up.
when you set it up.
Let's back up a little bit as to who those 5 people on this committee are going to consist of. I think it includes the chief counsel for the 29th legislature, 4 other persons to include an attorney from the VI Bar Association, the governor,
They're going to send one person down.
the Supreme Court Chief Justice Reese Hodge sent somebody,
And
and
then-
Senate President Ronald Russell sent somebody, and that's who the
Right.
team is going to consist of.
And so, I'm all for the process of letting them do their jobs, but I do not believe in usurping the authority of that constitutional convention.
So you don't
I
think it's a
that's what
good
they're
idea
doing.
that this team that they're trying to put in place?
You want to volunteer your time and go help them, go ahead. But it is the constitutional convention that should be handling this issue.
But there's going to come a time that we're going to need to not let the courts decide all of these issues. That again, we're going to have to make the decision way ahead of time.
You know when that time is going to be? When we stop having unscrupulous people in government.
I don't think
Then
that
we
is ever. I don't
we
think
won't need to be
No,
going
no,
to
I'm
the
talking-
courts
It's never
to
gonna
correct
happen.
things.
No, but think about
Guys,
it.
that's
For the
never
last
gonna
few years, the major decisions have always been deferred to the court.
And what have it
the
been
legislature
what has
failed
it
to
been
act.
centered on? And what has it been centered on? It's been centered on the governor improperly using money to fix his house.
Correct.
Okay. It's been centered on the legislature taking away people's money and breaching contracts.
Correct.
Right? So, when you look at those things, where else do you go?
But I say about all of that stuff, and a lot of that goes back to ethics and morale, and all of that stuff. And we need sound policies to speak into that in the legislature. And it's a shame that the leading lawmaking body in the Virgin Islands doesn't hold
Yeah.
itself to a higher standard.
Hopefully, come January, there may be 15 new people, or at least 15 people with some semblance of scruples who would really have compassion to work for the people of the Virgin Islands.
And that's
so
it.
we'll see.
So compassion is another one of those virtues.
Compassion is another virtue that we think we need to have.
Okay.
When we get back at
I
the
keep
final
hearing
end of the
clean,
hour,
I hearing clean sweep, clean sweep.
well, I don't know. We want, they can't do
What is
worse.
it be? A basketball tournament? We need to bring on the broom?
You know, as you know, tonight, today, October 1st begins Domestic Violence Awareness
That's
Month.
right.
And we'll be talking more about that as we come back to the latter end of the show. But when we get back, we will have Mr. Eugene LaCorbiniere with us, and we will find out what he's about and what he seeks to bring us if he's elected to the 3rd legislature of Virgin Islands. We'll be back in a moment.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. Tonight we have with us Mr. Eugene LaCorbiniere, who is an aspirant for the 3rd legislature of the Virgin Islands. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you guys?
You're doing well. And so the audience is clear. Would you please pronounce your last name? I want to make sure I have not been pronouncing your name incorrectly.
LaCorbiniere.
Is it A? L-A?
Yeah, L-A-C-O.
Oh, okay. I've been spelling your name wrong then. Okay. All right.
I got
All
it.
right. So to let the audience know a little bit of who you are and why is it that you've sought a seat in the 3rd legislature of the Virgin Islands?
Well, my name is Eugene LaCorbiniere. I was born and raised here. I'm an educator, teacher, author on St. Croix. One of my biggest reasons for running for the 3rd legislature is simply our government has not been being managed right. The level of corruption in our government is staggering. No matter where you go in the States, you can actually hear the cry from people that live there about the injustices that go on here. It's a very oppressive government. I think I have the answers to many of our problems, especially our utility problems, our wasteful government problems. We spend too much money in rent. It's like Clint said, the government fleet of cars, of vehicles per department is exorbitant. There's no need for the kind of vehicles that we have. The taxes that we hit our private sector, along with this utility nonsense, is closing up our island. You know, we're facing a ghost island effect within the next 6 months, because according to what I'm understanding, Hess is going to stop giving gas in December, and currently, as it stands right now, there is no one to supplement the gas shortage. So, come January, if we don't get things going, this is a heated election and all this is going on, we're going to face a lot of problems in January. My plans are to bring wind farms and solar farms to St. Croix. And there's been a lot of other candidates piggybacking off of that, but this is what I've been standing for from the beginning. It's mandatory that we decide to go this way. The rest of the world has been using this technology for over a decade, and it's long overdue. There's federal grant monies that are available to retrofit WAPA and begin wind farms and solar farms right here in St. Croix. Up to 114.
Where are you going to put it?
Well, that's the beauty of it. Wind farms don't take up space. People can plant, build right up to the very terminal if that's what you wish. It doesn't emit any radiation or any kind of harmful
explain
X-rays.
to me, because I am...
So it can go anywhere.
Explain to me exactly what you meant of what is wind farms? What is it?
Okay, wind farms are wind turbines.
Okay.
They're huge windmills that are placed in the air that generates energy, electricity, from the wind. This is a technology that the Danish folks have been using from long ago. This is old technology.
But isn't there wind turbines like on major flat areas of land that's looking towards the water, and so people don't really live around it, so they can really generate a lot of power? How would that work here?
Well, what I'm thinking is that we can strategically place them up East End. There's plenty of land up there. We can strategically place them the same way they place the antennas for the telephones. I mean, they take up probably less space than that, and they're less harmful than those. What I'm thinking is that each district, each sector that is controlled by WAPA, there's Glen sector, you have Montpellier sector, they can each have a windmill, 2 or 3 windmills to add to their utility consumption, so that way they can actually sell WAPA electricity, but it'll definitely reduce electricity up to about 75% if it's done right. California has jumped on this. China 5 years ago had nothing to do with solar panels. Today, 5 years later, they're responsible for over 50% of the solar panels made. We have an industrial park right across from public safety that can be utilized to start manufacturing these technologies that are heading towards the future and going green. This is mandatory. The reason why Hess is closed is not some conspiracy. Hess closed because the world is going green. The need for gas is gone. Everyone is using LNG, wind, solar, nuclear, whatever, but they're not using gas. So as the demand for gas goes, the production is not needed, your dinosaurs disappear, and whoever is still on this old technology is going to pay an arm and a leg to stay alive and stay floating. WAPA knows this, the people in the powers knows this, that's why everyone is jumping on my platform, but will they implement this? I don't know.
But what is your short-term plan though?
My short-term plan is that there's grant money that's available between October and December, the end of the fiscal year, coming up for the new fiscal year. Once I get in, I'm going to aggressively, I've already done my research. It's just about to fill out the paperwork and getting things done and getting my team going on this. But we're going to start applying for these grants immediately. And because we pay, Ms. Tang Ho, it's not the highest in the US, it's the highest in the world, in the entire world. We pay the highest utilities in the entire world. And because we're in this deficit and in this crisis, I am telling you right now, they are willing to throw money to have us start our natural resource technology and get life going on St. Croix.
Well, that piggybacks on what I wanted to know. What is the cost of this, just wind power and solar power? You know, what is the cost to get us up and running, and during what period of time? Because a lot of this...
It depends on what strategy you want to use.
What does the retrofitting entail? I mean, have you researched the cost that it will...
Yeah, retrofitting, the grants, like I said, is up to $114 million a year. Many companies that will come in will also take a blow from that because they're going to be making money from us. The initial cost of building them is where we're going to see the hike. But once they are up and running, within 3 to 4 years, I mean, we'll be looking at, utility bills that are more normal in the aspect of what we
but
what we need.
We can't wait for 3 to 4 years for our bills to go down.
No,
right?
but this depends on how well the other senators, the PSA, the governor, the executive office works with getting these plans enacted. No man can go in there and do it by himself.
Mr. LaCorbiniere, the urgency is now.
Yes.
Energy needs to be fixed now. The economy needs to be repaired now. Revenue needs to start to come into the Virgin Islands now. You have 2 years. Let's say you get elected. What's your plan to create some semblance of what you want to do in 2 years? What are you going to do in 2 years to repair some of those things and address them?
Okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to address them and start working with. But I'm going to tell everyone right now, there's no silver bullet. There's no magic answer.
Yeah.
This is going to take a lot longer than 2 years to fix. It took a lot longer than 2 years to create. So me going in for 2 years, I'm going to begin projects. But realistically speaking, people, this is going to take longer than 2 years. But we need buffer systems. Like I said, there's grants that we can start these things. By summer, we can start putting up wind turbines and start reducing our electricity use. A matter of fact, WAPA has already, this is one plus that I'm gonna get a PSA for. They approved 6 solar arrays. 3 for St. Thomas and 3 for St. Croix. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but they're supposed to be installing them. GE and other companies are supposed to be coming down here and installing them.
And it's supposed to do what?
Well, it's only going to reduce our utility bill $1 or $2 per month. That does not help me. It's right. It's like a smoke screen. It's like, hey, but that's not going to save our businesses that are closing down. What I'm going to do within the first 2 years that I'm in there is I'm going to fight to give businesses a utility incentive that allows them, just like the government, to have their utility bills forgiven, bypassed, left alone for a time. They need a break.
But then, hold up, then how is that going to help WAPA? Because if the government ain't paying, and then you're subsidizing, giving the people private to don't pay, then who going to pay?
Well, we have to generate funds for that. And my idea...
Here's a thought. How about you set legislation to make the government pay their bill?
But most definitely we have to do that.
Yeah, but I didn't hear you say that.
That's mandatory because the LEAC really is the overfeed of the government's bill.
But you said it's mandatory. Yeah, but they're not doing it. So what would you do as a senator to ensure that the government of the Virgin Islands not only pays what they owe, but mandates that within a fiscal year, you don't come back, and we see that the legislature has given you money for utility bills, costs, but it hasn't gone to pay utility costs.
Well, obviously we'd have to put a cap on that, and we'd have to expose the powers to be.
Do you support to go back to a line item budget?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. I think that we should be accountable for everything we spend and everything that is used in our budget. Currently, right now, as it sits, that's why my proposal to bring an economic development plan to St. Croix is so mandatory.
And I'm glad you went there, because I didn't want you to have your entire time talked about energy. Tell us about your economic plan to bring recovery to our economy.
Okay, first thing, what I'm talking about with my economic development plan is our top-heavy government and our wasteful government spending. That's line one. Our government currently is too top-heavy. We've got to start looking at these positions that people are sitting down not really doing anything, and they're getting a lot of money for it. Currently, right now, there's someone who is in charge of Frederickstead and Christiansted. Can you guys tell me who they are? Anyone know who the city managers are?
The administrators.
There's only one administrator.
No, there's two.
Who's the other one?
I don't know. But you find out for your next show.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was just Mr. Dodson James. Was the administrator?
I think he was for
St. Croix?
Christiansted. No, I think it's for Christiansted. But there's another person. There's two administrators, one for Frederickstead and one for Christiansted. To my
That's
understanding.
new.
Okay, no, it's not. But there's a lot of executive chief to this, and we need to consolidate our top-heavy government. Our government.
Are you sure that there are two administrators? I want to give you the opportunity, because if you're wrong, I'm going to talk about you.
Well, talk about me and bring it up.
So, you're certain that there are two administrators?
From my understanding, yes, there is an administrator for Frederickstead and there's an administrator for Christiansted.
All right.
Okay. Have you heard?
I never heard that. But okay.
I know in the past there was.
I know in the past.
Okay, but in the
there was.
past there used to be
I know
that.
the past was one
Okay.
for
Well, you can also find out if that has ever changed. Because from my understanding, this is how it has been, and this is how it is.
I'm only aware of Dodson James currently. But
So am I. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Right. So it's way too top heavy. Our government currently spends millions of dollars a year on rent. I'm going to try to push legislation, because these things are already in place, you know. Since 1994, they've been talking about consolidating and localizing our government someplace on St. Croix in one building that they own. There's buildings that they own right now that are under grass and left alone. And so they decide to go and pay Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Well, they claim that those are sick buildings and buildings that are
repair them, renovate them. I mean, I've seen people take broken buildings in Christiansted and Frederickstead and renovate them, make them look brand new. You know, it's not something that's difficult to do, and it's less money than paying rent every year.
I mean, I agree with you on that.
Okay.
So aside from reducing top-heavy government, what other economic plans do you have to bring recovery to the territory, especially to St. Croix?
Well, once again, I'm looking at the complex that's across from Public Works. I'm saying it and everyone's like, I don't know. Do you know that there's a commercial park over there? Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm trying to think about bringing that back to life. We need to think about bringing an industry here. But once again, if we can't allow our businesses to stay open, there is no one that's going to invest in coming to St. Croix. There is no business that's going to take that risk.
What exactly is your economic recovery plan?
Reduce the taxes, allow for new businesses to come.
Taxes?
The grocery taxes on our businesses.
Okay.
Allow for businesses to come in to get some sort of window, instead of just huge businesses that get these EDC benefits. We need to start looking at the smaller businesses to get some of these EDC benefits, because there's money available there. There's money available to our businesses from EDC, but it's a very difficult process for small business to get that funding. That can also go towards the utility relief, you know, for our small businesses. So there is another fund that we can get to use to help our small businesses.
And what about the enforcement arms, like the Department of Labor, that's supposed to monitor these EDC companies and all the money that, you know, that they're exempt from and passed off on, again, the small businesses?
Exactly. We need to address these things and look at it. And my biggest thing is, when I get into office, is to expose what's going on in there. I find that our senators do not use the media as they should. As a senator, Channel 8, Channel 2, you know, the newspaper, they don't charge you for giving community updates. And these are things that our people need to know what we're doing, when we're doing it, and why we're doing it. It's a sort of a comfort barrier, knowing that there's people working for you and doing something every day. Not just hearing after 2 years, hey, vote for me because I blah, 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 blah. we need to stay current, we need to stay active in our community, and we need to keep our community updated on what's going on. It's mandatory.
Thank you so much. Look, as we're running out of time, I want to give you the opportunity to speak to the audience and let them know why they should vote for you and what you intend to do. And let them know your ballot number as well.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Eugene LaCorbiniere, number 23 on your ballot. Vote for me is a vote for you. My economic development plan is something that is long overdue and must be implemented in St. Croix to get proper government, proper management, accountability. We need to get our top-heavy government and wasteful government spending in check. We need to be very forceful and aggressive with bringing wind farms and solar farms to St. Croix. We need to work with our small businesses because as they shut down and close, so does our communities, our families, and our loved ones. We need to work with our infrastructure. Last year, Public Works gave away $27 million back to the federal government. These are monies that could have been used for our roads, our infrastructure, our highways, our sewage system. St. Croix, we need help. We need a plan of action, and we need it now. Vote number 23 on your ballot, Eugene LaCorbiniere. And together, we will do better.
Thank you so much, Mr. LaCorbiniere. And thank you for coming on VI Voices.
Thank you.
We'll back in a moment.
Good luck to
Mr.
you.
Jay
Nice
Watson.
seeing you.
Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. We have tonight with us Mr. Jay Watson, who is also seeking a seat in the 30th legislature of the Virgin Islands. Good evening, Mr. Watson.
Good evening.
And welcome to VI Voices. Please let our audience and our viewers know who you are and why have you decided to seek a seat in the 30th legislature of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Emile. My name is Jay Watson, candidate for the 30th legislature. I'm number 25 on the ballot. I decided to run for public office because I've been in government for 30 years. And after seeing our Virgin Islands put at risk for the past several years, I decided to get deeper involved. From our education, to our economy, to crime, to our government integrity. You know, these are things that I really believe in, and I think that it has eroded over the years. I feel that I am somebody who can make a difference in this arena, which is the legislation. Thank you.
Mr. Watson, you said you were in government for 30 years, and you speak about you can make a difference at this particular level. How have you made a difference over the last 30 years in the Virgin Islands government and for the betterment of the Virgin Islands people?
That's an excellent question. Anybody who knows me knows that I've been somebody who's always been challenging the government. I don't take the status quo. If the government is oppressing the people, I will stand alone to defend the people.
Okay, can you give me firm examples?
Firm examples. Currently, there's I work for the Narcotics Strike Force, formerly Narcotics Strike Force, which is now by law called the Virgin Islands Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drug Control. As you know, the governor has funded this agency and it's just dormant. Yet every year you'll hear candidates talk about the drugs and the crime in our community. On August 8th of this year, I filed pro se an action in Superior Court against Governor John DeYoung and the government of the Virgin Islands to make sure that he follows the law and fund this agency. That's just one thing, okay? And the reason I had to do it pro se is because I went to several attorneys who would not take up this action, okay? So I decided I'll go it alone. And I know I will succeed because I have one thing on my side, the law. And once I have the law on my side, I'm not afraid of anyone.
What exactly are you saying is the law that was impeded by the governor?
What happened was the law clearly, the legislature never abolished the Narcotics Strike Force. Let's get that clear.
Okay.
Okay? What they did was actually amended the law, renamed the agency, and it says the Narcotics Strike Force hereby continues as a new semi-autonomous agency as the Virgin Islands Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drug Control.
Okay.
Now, what the governor was supposed to do was send down a funding source when he sent the budget down. But conveniently, for the past 3 years, he has conveniently sent down funding for every other government agency except this particular agency mandated by law. He's even sent down funding for the VI Energy Office, which was not created by the legislature. The VI Energy Office was created by executive order. That means he can, by a whim, decide he doesn't want the VI Energy Office no more. But with the strike force, or the Virgin Islands Drug Enforcement Bureau, the law, he failed to follow the law. And the legislature was supposed to be the check and balance to make sure he obeyed the law.
And then you see the situation we are economically here in the Virgin Islands, particularly on St. Croix. What is your economic plan to help us, first on a short-term basis and then on a long-term basis?
I'm glad you brought that up. Let's take the energy situation, because that's prevalent on everybody's mind. If you walk the street and you ask any citizen, they'll be talking about the WAPA, the high cost of energy, what have you. That situation, I believe, needs to be addressed in a comprehensive manner. Okay? You're going to hear senators and you're going to hear candidates talk about retrofitting and wind farms and solar and all kind of stuff. My position with this energy situation, we floated over $125 million for Hess when they built the Cat Cracker plant. That's VI bonds we floated. We floated another $250,000 to build Diageo with VI government bond money. Why can't we float bonds to build a state-of-the-art power plant using either liquefied natural gas or liquefied petroleum gas, whichever is more economical. But if we do that now and have a 3 to 5 year plan that we're going to do this, we already have the distribution center in place. We already have the power distribution. So if we build a power plant, okay, and float the bonds to do that, we will solve a problem not just for 5 years, 10 years. We may solve that problem in the rest of my lifetime. That's just one thing.
But hopefully your life will be long, because we hope to make sure that this energy issue can really be dealt with in a manner that the people of the Virgin Islands are genuinely going to see some kind of relief.
Yeah.
Because
and you mentioned comprehensive.
it has to be comprehensive.
But see, Captain, the ship is sinking. That's what the song said.
It's sunk.
And before you can really do anything, you must plug the hole. So what's the short term to plug the hole and then bring the ship up, float the ship and right side the ship? What's short term, medium, and long term for the energy?
Well, he just gave us a
long term.
Like I said,
short term.
Like I said, there is no short term fix. The reality.
So we can't get out of this.
Let me tell you something. Let's take the current administration. They were talking about the energy situation before they got into office. Okay? Has anything changed? Listen to what I just said. Had we done a 5-year plan to say this is what we're going to do in 3 to 5 years, this administration has been in place for 6 years, we would have been in a direction.
But what about responsibility? The budget, that's a legal document that's passed by the legislature.
Correct.
And in that budget, you say how much money you're going to give to agriculture. And under that, it also says how much the energy cost is and how much you're going to appropriate for them for the energy costs. Isn't that a good short-term fix to let the government start to take care of its responsibility up front and say, okay, if the government is starting to take care of that, the layer, which is in disguise, is to govern, is to recover costs that the government isn't paying for the energy bill. Can't we do some short-term fixes there and then slowly repair the bleeding and then focus on getting the body strengthened and developing a long-term plan down the road?
Well, the government needs to be treated as a private citizen when it comes to paying this bill. It doesn't just have to be with WAPA, with anything. Businesses are closing that provide services to the same government. because the government ain't paying the bill. So it's not isolated to WAPA, okay? But what happens is, when a budget is done, the legislature uses this miscellaneous appropriation to allow the departments to pay the light bill if necessary, or pay a portion of the light bill. That needs to stop. What needs to happen is, every government department can assess how much current they burn per year, per month.
Which I'm sure they know.
Okay, they know. Okay, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. So all they got to do is budget funding for that. Boom, pay it. But you see, the problem is everybody has their little pet things that they want to do in the department. So okay, we'll give you this miscellaneously and allow you to determine whether you should pay the light bill or not.
But can you think, walking into human services, no power, walking Department of Labor, no power, walking Department of Health, no power. What the heck? What are we supposed to do then?
Let me tell you something. Really, it won't happen.
Why do you say that?
Let's take the school buses. I'm very active in the PTA. I'm the PTA president for 2 public schools here on St. Croix. The Claudio Marco Elementary School and the Arthur A. Richards Junior High School. What happened when the school bus company didn't get their money?
They took the buses off the road.
They took the buses off the road.
That's what you should do.
Within
Yes.
a couple of days,
They were back.
they were back running and monies were paid. You know, but we can't operate a government in crisis all the time. And that's why I say my platform really deals with dealing with problems in a comprehensive
But
manner.
hasn't that been the norm over time? How are you going to change that? We operate in crisis as a normal day-to-day way of doing business here in the Virgin Islands, and particularly here in St. Croix. So what do you intend to do, or your contribution for us to do business differently?
You know, one thing we got to realize, we've been doing wrong for so long, we think it's right.
True.
Okay? And what needs to happen is, remember, you as a senator, you are employed by the people.
Right.
If you see your people are suffering and asking for certain things to make the quality of their life better, then you should address it. The problem is that electing elected officials is more on a popularity basis. You know, so if you have a good idea, but you're not popular, nobody's going to accept your idea. It happens in the legislature. It happens between minority and majority. Okay? The majority senators don't want to push nothing for the minority senators, even though it may be a good idea to benefit the people. They don't care about that. I plan to change that.
How?
Like I said, because what you do is, whenever you know you have a good idea that benefits the people, and your colleagues don't want to support you, take it back to the people. You have town hall meetings, you tell the people, this is what it is, you give me your input, call your elected officials, just like they do in the States. I think our populace need to get a little more educated when it comes to the electoral process.
I agree with
You know,
you on
in the
that.
States, they call their congressman, they call their legislator
But
to
you're
get
saying
change.
call our senators out by putting them on the spot.
I will call them out, and it doesn't matter if I'm in a majority or a minority. You know, it's like, I like sports. Let's simplify. I like sports, right? If I have a player on my team that because of his action is messing up the flow of the team, I have to call him out.
But then, so how do you deal with preemption? Now, we have bills sitting there languishing,
Yeah,
and
sure.
it's preempted. But up to this day, the public don't know which senator has that bill
That's right.
sitting there in the coffin.
That's a
But
good
some
point,
of the
because a lot of
some of the
times-
senators are there don't even know.
No.
Yeah.
Who has the
So
bill.
how do you deal with that one?
I believe they need to change that preemption rule. You shouldn't be allowed to hold on to a piece of legislation that can benefit the people indefinitely.
But what's wrong with competition?
Okay, indefinite.
You two of us have two same bills, like 2,000 bills. Don't we then come to the table, hash it out, and make sure we get one bill?
That's called cooperation.
See,
But that doesn't happen. Trust me. I've been in the legislature.
I want to ask you, before we run out of time, but I want to ask you quickly your stance on crime. How are we going to deal with the issues regarding the high rise of crime in the territory?
Simple. Very simple.
Okay, well, tell me.
You're not going to deal with the crime situation unless you deal with the education system,
Okay.
situation. Okay, if you have an educated populace, you will naturally have a decrease in crime.
So what will be your plan?
We need to demand that our students here in the Virgin Islands should have no less of educational facilities, educational equipment. The teachers should have no less than school districts, successful school districts in the mainland. And that's the problem. Right now we have teachers don't have proper equipment, taking money out of their pocket. That shouldn't be. That's the government's responsibility, you know? And this is going on for years. And then you heap the burden on the people by telling them, listen, we're going to cut your 8%. We haven't addressed your LEAC. The businesses are going. And for economic development to happen, there are two main things that any business looks for before they relocate. The quality of your roads and the quality of your schools. Those are two main things they look at. Okay? Thank you.
Well, while we're running out of time, I want you to let the audience know what your ballot number is and where they can find you if they have more questions for you, because you know the 15 minutes go by rather quickly, but if they have any questions for you. And finally, one more time, let them know why should they go in the ballot, go on November 6th and vote for Jay Watson. 30 seconds.
Good evening again. My name is Jay Watson, candidate for the November 6th general election, senatorial candidate. I'm number 25 on the ballot. You can reach me at Jay Watson for Senate on my Facebook page, 2012, or jaywatson4senate@gmail.com. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm somebody who likes to get things done. I don't believe in the status quo. And the status quo hasn't worked for us for several years. Something needs to change. The point is you need individuals in the legislature who will not stand up with the status quo, who will inform the people as to what directions we could go in and actually make progressive moves in that direction. The way we've gone has put us in a real dangerous situation. And if we continue along this path for the next 5 years, we won't have no Virgin Islands.
Thank you so much for coming on to VI Voices, and we wish you much luck come November.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in a moment.
Mr. Watson, that's all I do, yeah?
Good to have you. Good luck. Good luck.
Sir.
Buzz?
Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. Tonight was an awesome show. We had, two aspirants, Mr. Eugene LaCorbiniere and Jay Watson, who are both seeking a seat, and they both had really good ideas, I thought, relative to the energy crisis. And I think Mr. Watson was we asked him, we didn't ask Mr. LaCorbiniere about the crime issue, but Mr. Watson spoke about the crime issue.
Correct.
You know, we've always maintained that education and crime are interrelated.
Yeah.
And so it's important for us to deal with our education reform issues, which will in turn get us to the crime issues.
Correct. I think everything is interconnected, and that's one thing we need to look at. Crime, education, economy, environment, all of those things are connected. And if you think about the E's when you talk about economy, education, we need to focus on the education, because education is going to provide you with the raw material to build up your economy.
Exactly. And what I really like about VI Voices, guys, is that it gives our viewing audience an opportunity to see the candidates up close and live and really be educated about making your decisions. So it's not about popularity, but it's really trying to get to know. I know we can't do that much in 15 minutes, but I know it goes a long way, because what you can do is pick up from where we left off. That's why we have them share information and really educate yourself, because a more educated populace is a more powerful populace, and what we want to do is show them the power of the people.
And for Mr. LaCorbiniere, he didn't get a chance to mention it.
Right.
But you can find him on Facebook at the Committee to Elect Eugene LaCorbiniere.
Yeah.
how do you spell LaCorbiniere? LaCorbiniere.
Yeah, that's it.
So you can find him there on Facebook and get some more information about what his plans are. And for him, I really hope that he's correct about that administrator thing. I don't want to call him out tomorrow, but if I find out he's right. But I hope he's right.
To his credit, he's an educator, a teacher, he's an author. He really is into education.
Correct.
He really is, from all the years that I've known him, somebody that's sound in that area. And we need to look at these people more.
And he has
attention to them.
And he definitely demonstrated that passion tonight.
No, I liked his idea about. I'm just trying to figure out how it works. I don't think anybody has yet fully explained to me how this is going to work here in St. Croix.
You're referring to the wind.
The wind turbines.
The wind turbines.
I think it sounds like a really great idea, but I'm trying to figure out how will it work here. Our poles can't even stay up when.
But we don't have wind every day, and we don't have sun every day, but I guess a combination
and
we do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And windmills comes in all different shapes, sizes, and they're building them to withstand all kind of different weather.
I think it's definitely something that's worth looking into.
Right.
Correct.
And so I can see that he was passionate about that, and that he knew it really well. He had researched it well, which is a good thing. And what I'm happy that we're doing these shows is that whether they win or not, whoever gets in there can at least look to these people who've had ideas,
correct,
and work with them to get some stuff done.
Correct. And when we come and we start to ruminate on the candidates and what virtues we're supposed to look at, we're supposed to then dissect leadership.
Right.
Because I think we need to look at leadership, and I think that's what we're hoping that all of these candidates bring to the legislature.
Yeah.
Leadership.
Yeah.
And what are the components of leadership and what makes good leaders. And it starts off with people that are passionate and demonstrate that they may not know it, but they're going to go out and research it and come back with the facts.
And Clint, I ditto that. And people in government are there for service. They serve the people. And don't expect to make six figures. We have certain government officials making.
Well, that's what they shouldn't expect.
They shouldn't. That's not what government is about. It's public service. And that's what comes first. Serving the people, doing what's right for the people. Everything else, including that six-figure income, is after the fact. That comes after.
And correct. And benefits and also should match what the people are getting. So we're going to look at all of that as time goes on.
Absolutely.
And we're going to and you talk about educating about who the candidates are and how they should make their pick.
Absolutely.
But I think via Voices, as we move beyond the election and move into next year, we're going to educate the community on what the issues are.
Absolutely.
And what they should continue to advocate for in our community.
Absolutely. Now, as you know, we are all wearing our purple ribbons tonight, and that is, of course, in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which began today, October 1st. And during this month, we will have a show on domestic violence and the effect that it's had in the territory nationally, and we'll have various people to talk about it on the show. But we want to make sure that we wore our pins to let everybody know that Domestic Violence Awareness Month has begun today, and we are going to proceed by informing people about this important issue, why we need to be so aware of that. So we may have people from the Women's Coalition, from DVSAC, the Domestic Violence Council, hopefully from the Men's Coalition. We're going to try to bring you some really good shows on there to help educate you on that issue.
Correct.
And so, I'm sure every one of us knows at least one person who has either been the victim of domestic violence or is the perpetrator of domestic violence. And it's an important show for us to get into.
Exactly. In our community, we have zero tolerance when it comes to domestic violence.
And
I definitely do.
I like it when we say zero tolerance, but it should be zero tolerance for everybody.
Oh yeah.
That's what I believe in.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, whether it's the batterer, the other person who's doing the battering, we should have zero tolerance. Whether it's a high-profile figure or somebody with no name.
Right.
I think we should advocate for that. And
I
I'm going to
agree
hope so that we
completely.
continue to advocate, not just in October, but all throughout the year.
And what's going to be important also, and I'm hoping that the producers are going to let us do this show, is if we can get some of our young people. Because what is so perplexing is that we have a lot of domestic violence issues among our young people. These are like the teenagers. Some of these young teenagers are being beaten by their boyfriends or their girlfriends, whatever. We don't know it, and they don't say much. But there's a huge teen population who are engaged in domestic violence
And quite frankly,
relationships.
it's a trickle down from what we're facing and what they're seeing around
And what they're learning.
and what they're learning.
Correct, but I also hope that is also focus and that's not focusing on the physical violence,
Oh, the
but also the emotional
Oh, yes.
and the mental.
Which I think is more
But you know,
dangerous.
The catch
Definitely.
with that, guys, though, sometimes people are in that situation and don't realize it.
Correct.
What are the signs? And I think that's one of the things we can address when we have our guests.
And
on
we
the show.
will,
What are
truly.
the signs of, you know?
We'll devote as many shows as we can to during this month to get that out there so
Right.
that people will know. Wednesday, October 3rd is the big day, the first presidential
Debate.
debate
Oh yeah,
between
don't miss it.
our President Obama and
Mitt
him.
Mitt Romney. Call the
Yes.
gentleman name.
Mitt
CNN.
Former
Romney.
governor of Massachusetts.
Former governor of Massachusetts. I am so excited to see this debate because unless President Obama has just completely taken Valium and doesn't know where he is, I'm not sure how we're going to judge and how Mr. Romney is going to get to him how he needs to. I believe that I already believe that the president is way above him, way ahead of him,
Oh,
I should
yeah.
say, which is important not because you see these ratings or these, these
Become complacent and
become
content.
complacent to it. That, oh, well, he's ahead, so I don't need to come out and vote. You still have to go
Oh,
out to vote.
definitely.
Don't become complacent about it. But if former Governor Romney does not at least attempt to hit it at,
Hard.
outfield, not even out the park, just at least outfield, it's done
But see,
for him.
what I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna encourage the audience to the next day, don't just watch CNN, watch those gentlemen and the Comedy Central, and those fellas are gonna tell you how wonderful the debate was because they're gonna be able to pull some of the fodder that came out of that
Yeah.
debate. So I'm going to also make sure you have a dictionary sitting on next to you because some big words are going to be flowing,
Yeah.
and those big words may sound nice, but subtly they are insults and they're satire and all those different poetic devices we use in speech. And I expect the Republicans are saying, okay, Romney's gonna, just by showing up on the stage, he's gonna be the victor. I think.
I don't know about that.
And President Obama's people are
There's a
saying,
whole lot
he's
more
good,
that
man,
can
he's
be
good.
there.
So
Well,
it's
I
going to be
was-
like a Muhammad Ali
I
fight.
will say this, and on my Facebook the other day, I often reference Miss Manda, though I've never met her. But I referenced whether or not the Romneys had went to her school of public speaking.
Romney or
Remember
Romney
there was
Scott?
all of them.
Okay.
But remember there was this time when I thought it was a joke, where this issue with Governor Romney didn't know why you couldn't roll down the windows on the airplane.
Yeah.
Remember, and I thought it was a big joke. I was
Yeah.
like, well, that has to be a joke. Well, actually, it was true that he did say that, and so it wasn't a satire or parody. Well, it got worse. Ann Romney does an interview to a Nevada TV station. They ask her, what's her biggest fear if her husband becomes president? And her response isn't, all the stuff he has to do, or she's not going to be able to see him. Her response was, I fear for his well-being, his mental well-being. Really? Now, this is the man who's in charge of the button for the red button for our
The
nuclear,
nuclear
right?
weapons.
Who has to deal every day with the conflicts of other people to protect our nation. And your biggest fear as his wife, who should know him like anybody else, is that you fear for his mental well-being.
So you're trying to say he's fragile? That what she's
I would
imply?
assume that's what she meant. But that's what she said. She's afraid for his mental well-being. I mean, who would come out openly and say something like that and expect that we're supposed to put our faith in this person to lead our nation?
Again, one of the things I am going to say, she thought there was something genuine she was presenting to the American people. So again, she
And
was
it
trying to
probably
get she was trying to get in touch with the folk. But it's just what I keep saying, that the Romneys and his campaign are going to continue to utter these things, and the day after, they're going to send out the spin doctors and retract.
But they can't
Well,
spin
you
well
know.
because the stuff that they've been doing lately, they haven't been spinning very well at all.
But
And
Well, there's an obvious
I
disconnect.
think right now their spin is to get people out with those voter ID suppression laws they're trying to pass to get it out of the way. But we run out of time. I don't want us
Already?
to run out. I know, right? Wonderful show tonight. We're going to make sure you all go out to vote. Vote as though your life depends on it, because it does. I want you to understand that your voice can make a difference. So make sure that you use it. All right? Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Rock the vote.